Hi friends! Welcome to my channel. If you haven't been here in a long time or if you're new, my name's Michael and I haven't made a sit down video in such a long time. This feels crazy, but I wanted to do a little like reading wrap up, everything that I read in 2024 and start the year fresh. I'm really excited for this new year of reading and I feel like I set my goal for this year to be 24 books and I hit my goal. God bless. I think I'm gonna set the same goal for myself next year. 2 books a month feels like a good goal for me personally and what I can achieve. But I'm excited for this coming year of books because I feel like I'm really gonna get to like reach out of my comfort zone a little bit and explore some different things. So we're just gonna jump right in and I'm gonna talk to you about every single book that I read this year. Let me know your favorite book that you read this year down below because I'm very, very curious. Okay. So I started Crescent City in December of last year and I finished it in January of this year. So I read the first one and the second one. These books are incredible. I love Crescent City. I think people who are scared to jump into Crescent City because they are massive, it's okay. Like, you're gonna make it, I promise. You just have to get through like the first 200 pages and then it all makes sense and you're in love with the characters and the storyline. It's incredible. You follow a character named Bryce. Sorry, my daughter's singing. You follow a character named Bryce and it's this like dystopian fantasy world. It's incredible. If you haven't read it, you should. And if you have read ACOTAR and you're excited for the next ACOTAR book to come out, but you haven't read Crescent City, hey babe, you need to read Crescent City before you even start getting excited about the next ACOTAR book. These are incredible. I will say, start with audio, like start House of Earth and Blood, the audiobook, and then it's much easier to kind of get enveloped into the story. Then I took a little break between Crescent City 2 and 3 and I read The Bell Jar. This has been on my list for a really long time. I really enjoyed it. I know that Sylvia Plath obviously was a woman of the 50s and she was racist and homophobic and just problematic in and of itself. I do think the book was very intriguing. I think that it was very ahead of its time as far as like feminist literature goes. Hello, are you okay, miss? It was very disturbing towards the end of the book, knowing that Sylvia Plath took her own life shortly after this book was written, and reading what happens in this book, it's very disturbing. It was intense for me personally, but I did enjoy the read in and of itself. After I read The Bell Jar, I read Crescent City 3 because it had just come out at the end of January and it was so good. I do think it was the most chaotic Crescent City book, which is crazy because that series is quite genuinely just pure chaos, but I do think that was the most chaotic. Oh, I also forget. Before I read The Bell Jar, I read The 4 Agreements. It's literally like 100 pages long. It's a very, very quick read. I read it in a single night. I didn't love it. I just, like, it was okay. I think I gave it like 3 stars. I think maybe at some point in my life I would go back and reread it because I think the first time you read it is just to like know it, and then to reread it you kind of understand it a little more. But it wasn't anything like crazy enlightening. People say that it's like their favorite book of all time. I didn't feel that way. It's just like a philosophy book, nothing crazy. So then after I read Crescent City 3, I jumped back into Throne of Glass. This is book 4 of Throne of Glass, I think, depending on how you decide to read it. Queen of Shadows. I really enjoyed Queen of Shadows. I think it was such a good read. I feel like this is when shit like really started to get crazy, and I finished the entire like Throne of Glass series this year. I would love in the future to go back and reread the series because I think rereading it would be like 10 times more impactful. After Queen of Shadows, I read Twisted Love by Anna Huang. I listened to this book on audio and I hated every fucking minute of it. The only reason that I finished that book was just to say that I had read it so I could get it the fuck out of my face. I don't think I will ever read anything else by her ever again. I just thought that it was bad. Like, I just genuinely did not enjoy it, and I'm so sorry if you did, and if it's like one of your favorite books, sending all of my love to you. I just thought the characters were annoying. I thought the storyline was annoying. I just didn't like any of it. And I do feel bad for saying that, so my apologies. After that, I read Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. Definitely an interesting read. It was just something quick to throw, you know, my mind away. And I'm not going to say that it was great. I'm not going to say that it was bad. I guess I didn't say what Twisted Love is about. Twisted Love is about this girl, and she's like a college student, and she moves in with her brother's best friend, and she ends up falling in love with him, and he's like a billionaire. I don't fucking know. Birthday Girl is about this young girl, and her boyfriend move into his dad's house, and her boyfriend is kind of a piece of shit. They break up, and she starts dating his dad. Honestly, slay, eat the house, mama. It was like nothing crazy, nothing like, you know. If y'all know Penelope Douglas, this is probably one of the like lightest stories that she has. Definitely very like smutty. Then we move on to my first Elsie Silver book that I read. I do love Elsie Silver. I think that she does what she does very well. I read Heartless, which is the first book in the Chestnut Springs series, basically about a single dad who is a full-time rancher, and he meets this, you know, really beautiful girl, and she starts nannying for him, and they fall in love, and it is beautiful, incredible. I loved it. After that, I was kind of on like a cowboy romance high, and I was like, let's do this again. And I read Swift and Saddled, which is the second book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series. Hated it. Hated every fucking moment of it. I did not think that it was good. Especially following Elsie Silver. Like, it just wasn't... It didn't do what it needed to do. It was about these two people who hook up one night, and then the next day they find out that they're actually going to be working together, and, you know, they have this weird chemistry, but they're trying to fight it. I just think that, like, if you're going to read a cowboy romance, read Elsie Silver. Like, she's just a better author, I think. I enjoyed her story more. After that, I reread Song of Achilles. I read this book for the first time back in either 2021 or 2022. It's been a long time, so I gave it a little reread, and it's just incredible the second time around. This book makes me cry every single fucking time. I love this story. This is a Achilles retelling, and it's about Achilles and Patroclus and their love story, and it's so fucking good. I love Madeline Miller. I love her so much. After that, I read Flawless, which is the first book in the Chestnut Springs series by Elsie Silver. Chestnut Springs is just an interconnected standalone series, so you can read all of them out of order. You can read just one, like, it really does not matter, but they all are in the same universe, the same family. Flawless was about a pro bull rider and this girl who is in like publishing. What is she? She does something, and he basically gets into a scandal, and she has to come and get him out of this scandal and make the public on his side again. And obviously they fall in love. It was so good. I did like Heartless better than Flawless, but Flawless was incredible as well. Like, just a good cowboy romance. Like, no one is doing it like Elsie Silver does it, babe. So then we got back into the meat and potatoes of Throne of Glass, which I didn't give a synopsis on Throne of Glass now that I'm thinking about it. If you don't know about Throne of Glass, babe, just like get into it, please. Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn, I did do the tandem read, and I did vlog the entire tandem read on my TikTok. If you guys want to go watch that, I gave like all of my thoughts and feelings. I thought the tandem read was incredible. The way that I did it was I read the hardcover of Empire of Storms and I did the audiobook of Tower of Dawn. So I would just swap back and forth, and that made the most sense to me. People think Tower of Dawn is a little more slow than Empire of Storms, which is why I chose to do this one on audiobook instead of this guy. Incredible here. I think the story development, the character development in this fucking book, mama, like, are you for real? Are you fucking for real? Then, then things got a little kooky, and I read Tender as the Flesh. I just picked this up because I thought it looked cool. This is about a cannibalist society where all of the meat, the animal meat, goes bad, and they have to start breeding humans to be sold as meat, which is very interesting. You follow the guy that works in meat production, and you see the whole process. It's very disturbing, very weird and interesting read. Very quick read. It's a very small book, as you can see. The ending, though, I was fucking gagged. Like, did not expect it to go the way that it did. The main character is separated from his wife because his wife was pregnant and they lost the baby. Obviously, that's really hard to cope with. And the whole story kind of follows him being depressed about his wife leaving him. And the ending is just like, I can't even talk about it. It's so fucking crazy. This book, very disturbing, very good. Sorry, I'm looking at my phone to tell me what order of everything that I read. So then I read this Bad Mama Jamma, Kingdom of Ash. I finished the Throne of Glass series, and this one was intense. I pretty much exclusively did the audiobook of this guy because it's so long. I turned it on anytime I was at home doing laundry, in the car driving. Like, it was intense. So much happens in this book, and it is incredible. And like I said, I want to go back and reread Throne of Glass one day because I think it would just hit so different the second time around. Then we hopped back into a little lighter cowboy romance, and I read Powerless, which is the third book in the Chestnut Springs series. And this one was less cowboy. Powerless is about a pro hockey player, and he falls in love with his childhood, like, best friend, and she is, like, engaged to this really shitty guy, and he's trying to get her out of that engagement. It was good. It's not as good as Heartless or Flawless by Elsie Silver. But if you like a hockey romance, I'm not a huge hockey gal, okay? If you like a hockey romance, then I think you would probably enjoy Powerless more than I did myself. Then we really switched it up again, and I read Your Face Never Lies. This is a really tiny book, and this took me literally a day to go through. But it basically just talks about, like, ancient Chinese medicine and how if you study the face and the different, like, lines and colors and textures of the face, you can pinpoint exactly what is going on in your heart, in your liver, in your gallbladder, in your, like, everything. And it was a very interesting read. I think I'll probably end up going back and picking it up again. There were some things that I was like, oh my god, that's so interesting. I've, like, you know, you just never think about how interconnected everything is. Then I read Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This was just like a light, you know, throwaway read. I read a lot of it on audiobook. I do have the physical copy because my boyfriend got it for me, which is very, very kind of him. I didn't love it. It's a vampire werewolf romance. The main character is a vampire girl, and she gets into an arranged marriage with a werewolf, and they have to learn to coexist, and eventually they fall in love. It was like nothing special. It was just a regular ass fucking book, and that's really all I have to say about it. If you love a vampire werewolf romance, you would probably enjoy it. I'd never read any of Ali Hazelwood's books, but it was okay. Then I read Grimoire Girl. This is by Hilary Burton Morgan. I love her, so when I saw that she became an author, I was like, I want to read her book. This was really fun. It talks about how she kind of grew up in a family from, like, Appalachia and has taken a lot of their teachings with her and has met people throughout her life and has kind of created this own, like, coven if you will, of these women who teach her things and how she likes to be a witch in her own way and connect with nature and family and people. And it was a really, really good read. After I finished this, I bought her other book, The Rural Diaries, which is about the ranch that her and her husband and her kids live on. And I haven't read that yet, but I am excited to get into it because I do like the way that she tells the story. I think her writing is wonderful. It's probably just because I love her as a person. Very good. And she's so cute. Like, it's just such a cute book to have on my shelf. I love it. Then, again, like, really just switching things up constantly all the time. I read Priest, which is the first book in the Priest series, or I think it's a trilogy by Sierra Simone. I had read Sinner last year. Sinner was good. Sinner was about a really rich man who left the church that he grew up in and falls in love with a childhood friend who is becoming a nun. And that was a very interesting story. And then Priest is about his brother, who is a priest, obviously, and falls in love with this girl, and you kind of just like watch him battle his love with this girl and being a priest, because obviously those two cannot coincide. I did not like Priest. I liked Sinner. I thought Sinner was good. Priest, I don't know if it was just the like religion of it all, but I really could not get into it. I just finished it to say that I had read it and put it to the fucking side, and I will probably never think about that book ever again. The most recent book that I finished was Gone Girl. I had never seen the movie. I had never read the book. I had no idea what it was about, but I had it on my like TBR for so long, and I finally just downloaded the audiobook and flew through it. It was a little interesting in the beginning. I wasn't super into it, but once perspectives shift and you get into like the meat and potatoes of the story, I was really into it, and we ended up watching the movie afterwards. And I will say, obviously the book is better. I think that is like always the case, but I do think the movie did a good job of portraying the story and like the characters. Gone Girl basically is about a woman who fakes her death to her husband of like 5 years, and you kind of follow the story of why she did it and what he thinks is going on, and it's very interesting. It's just a very interesting read. I did enjoy it quite a lot. And then right now, I actually have to go get my book because I don't have it. The last book that I will probably read this year, at least finish this year, is Circe by Madeline Miller. I'm almost done with this book. I literally have like 5 chapters left. I'm so fucking close. And I'm so glad that I am ending this year on this note, because this book is incredible. It's so good. Like I said, I just love Madeline Miller. I think her writing is so incredible and so poetic. This is a retelling of the story of Circe. And some people I have seen really dislike this book because it spans over like 1,000 years, like Circe's whole life. It starts when she's born, and I'm assuming it ends when she ends. I don't really know how the story is going to end. I haven't spoiled anything for myself. But it's incredible. You follow her growing up as like kind of an exiled child, that her family doesn't really give a fuck about her. They kind of treat her like shit. They send her off to her own island to live on her all by herself, and she becomes a witch and hones her practice, and she ends up reconnecting with her sister and finding out why her sister treated her like shit. And she meets all these men along the way. Some of them she loves, some of them use her, and she like fucking destroys them. And then most recently, at the part that I'm at, she had a baby and is trying to protect her baby because these, you know, different forces and things are not happy that she had a baby. And she is just like so primal mother. All I have to do is just survive and have this baby survive. And it's so intriguing because majority of the story, she is on her own. She's alone on this island. And I think what really like hit me about this is that this woman was alone her entire pregnancy. She was alone her entire birth, the entire newborn stage, like all of her motherhood. She has been completely, utterly alone. And that is crazy to think about. Like, I could not be a mom. Obviously, this is a story and she's like a nymph goddess, but like to think about doing motherhood completely alone is horrifying. So to read her story and to know that like she is doing that is, I don't know, it's just been a very interesting read for me, and I'm really, really intrigued by it. That was my like reading wrap up of 2024. Very much of a roller coaster. We did a lot of different genres. We got into a lot of different shit. Next year, I'll give you guys just a quick recap of all of the books that I want to read in 2025, and we'll see what I get through. I have these next to my bed. We've got The Handmaid's Tale, Lolita, One Day, and The Woman Who Run with Wolves. Those are my, most anticipated reads coming up. I've got lots of books over here, but none of these are like really, this is where the meat and potatoes are. We've got A Little Life, My Dark Vanessa, Call Me By Your Name, The Secret History, which I will say I am about 100 pages into, but I took a little pause. We have My Policeman, Frankenstein, The Brothers Karamazov. Is that how you say that? I never know. Pride and Prejudice, The Virgin Suicides, Glass Castle, Metamorphosis, which I am also like halfway through. I just never finished. And Practical Magic. Oh my god, my candle led onto Practical Magic. I'm about to have a conniption. Okay, well, I gotta let y'all go so I can figure out my book candle wax moment here. It does not surprise me that Practical Magic is the one that got candle wax on her. That fucking witch ass bitch. Anyways, I love you guys. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next year.